Hey everyone, we're live, pal. Sometimes when you do a live streaming podcast, you have to be very reactive. You have to be ready to talk about things that maybe just got discussed a very short time ago. But in this case, it is perfect for our show because Tony Khan just did a media call in which he dropped some little nuggets of information there. And this is my favorite version of Tony Khan. Like, I criticize him sometimes for no commenting things, but he was very open. He was answering questions. You know what he reminded me of is the GIF that's out there of him dancing. I think producer John's going to play it for the video, folks. That's the Tony Khan right there that I envisioned in my head as he was answering these questions, including one in which Dave Meltzer asked him if WBD owns a piece of AEW. So just
Dave.
He was very open in these questions. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
This was like a media call again for us, and this is why Tony does it, right? Tony does these calls to push his pay-per-views, but also because he knows that we're all going to talk about this stuff. So this was a perfect way to start this show. What did you see any of it, or I mean, did you hear any of it?
Can I see that? Can I see Tony dancing again? Because it reminded me of something. Oh, that's the Sheffield Shuffle. That's what they do in Queens. That's like a Queens thing. When Mr. Sheffield in The Nanny finally got it with Nanny Fine, that was the dance he did. That's what we do in Flushing when we get laid.
See, to me, the thing that I thought a little bit different explains our backgrounds a little bit differently. I saw that as Boomerang, the John Witherspoon character, where
is that what you saw?
Bang, 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 bang. That's what I hear in Tony's mind as he's doing that dance.
I witnessed that live, that dance.
Yeah, you were there.
And I got to tell you, it was as impressive as it was on TV on our screen right now.
So for people listening on the audio, you've probably seen the GIF of him doing the Daniel Garcia dance. But maybe even my favorite part, which is not in that GIF, is so he's doing it as he's going down the ramp. And I think he realizes, he's like, oh man, how do I get back up the ramp? So what he does is he does a little bit of like a boxer's back pedal all the way back up the ramp. That was my favorite part. But that was, that when you have somebody of his stature to kind of just act the fool like that, I think it does endear him a bit to the fan base. Now there's going to be another side of people who are going to be like, oh, what a goofball. If you've seen Vince McMahon do stand back at the Slammies or do the Vince version of the Spinaroonie, like Vince is goofy like that too. There's just more cameras around these days.
How about Vince dancing with the strippers with Dude Love?
Oh yeah.
And he's doing this. He's doing this thing.
And he's got this like look on his face, and he's like licking his lips, like it's going crazy. All right,
so I see that look a lot. Actually, I don't know if you know that about me. I see that look in a lot of people's eyes regularly.
I do know that about you.
But listen, Dave's question was fantastic, and God, you're gonna get me in trouble.
No, I mean, it was a question that Tony answered. I mean, let's actually start.
Tony
with
answered.
Because...
Listen, Tony didn't. What was Tony's exact answer here?
Okay, so I'm only reading from Josh Nason's write-up on the website. Now Josh covers these calls every single time, and he does a great job. But he doesn't actually list out the verbiage. He kind of summarizes it. So I'm going to read directly from what he wrote. He said, Khan answered a question from R. Dave Meltzer about rumors of WBD taking an ownership stake in AEW. Khan said he would be open to conversations with partners like WBD, but wants to remain in control of decision-making and voting. He wants 100% of the voting shares in the stock and such. So
but he also said that he has 100% of the voting shares, right? Those were exact words. I think I found it here. This is from John Alba. Friend of mine, good friend of mine.
Oh, our good friend, John Alba.
A good friend, John Alba. He's
handsome,
a good boy,
handsome
John.
Young man.
He's a good boy. I got to tell you, I just, there's certain people that don't like him very unfairly, and I've gotten to know him, and he's a good guy. for sure.
Oh, I've been able to talk to him on this show.
Far.
I've interviewed him on another show. He's tremendous.
I think it's very unfair when people decide who you are based on one scenario that's played out.
And
but
he's
yeah.
and he's doing he's going to Springsteen concerts. He's like hanging out with strangers, doing Born to Run.
He's hanging out with strangers. That's dangerous, John. Don't do that, please.
They're all singing Born to Run and into the iPhone. It's good
so
content.
this is what John posted. Tony Khan was asked point blank by Dave Meltzer about WBD having minority ownership in AEW. Tony Khan mentioned that he's always been open to it, but says he owns 100% of the voting stock in the company and 100% of the decision making. Tony says that if WBD Discovery had partnership, it would be an agreement between them. He then resonated that he would want 100% of the decision making and majority stock. He's open to additional investment at the right number that makes sense. I mean, listen, I'm not going to tell you to read into what Tony said. But maybe a little bit.
Here's what somebody who just follows this stuff very closely but doesn't have a connection to any source in the conversation. The reason why WBD would want to be part owner of AEW, in my opinion, is because then the deal for the media rights and everything, it's just a little bit more fruitful for them if they are also owners. So the way that I look at it is, I believe by this time or even further down the line next year is when the deal is up. So if we hear that they re-up with WBD sometime in the next 4 to 6 months, then, we may even be able to put more of 2 and 2 together, like maybe they do. But if we start hearing that they may move the television to a different media company, I think that may say that WBD is not involved in this scenario. So I think to the sort of the outsider looking in, that's kind of a key thing. But he didn't, he outright said how it is, he believes how it is today, but he didn't say that he would be against it. So he's leaving it open to interpretation, I guess.
He is leaving it open to interpretation. Also, there were a couple key things here. One, I would be shocked if they left Warner, right? I would be very surprised. I always say I could be wrong. I've been wrong before with certain. TV14 just constantly echoes in my head regularly.
You need to give yourself a break on that one.
You know what? You know why I can't? Because I wasn't wrong. That's why.
Yeah.
If I was just an idiot and I jumped the gun and I said something that wasn't happening at all, then I would have owned up to it. I would have said, I'm wrong. Ooh, I got a text message from Dave Meltzer right now.
Uh-oh. Does he know that you're on air?
Yep.
Is the question.
You know what? He does not know I'm on air, but Dave and I are on the same. I've locked into that Meltzer frequency. And I got to tell you, it's a little scary to be at that level, but we're both on the same page with this. I'll tell you.
Well, so you know what you need to do, and I've been through this, which is why I can give this advice. You need to come to the Bay Area. You need to lock in for at least 3 days.
Okay.
And what you do is you stay at Dave's house, and you sort of just like soak in all the spirit and all the all
he
everything.
Makes you sleep on an bed of observer issues,
yes.
Right? That's how it works. Yeah.
And this is kind of like your camp, right? And
I'm into it.
So you have your computer, he's in his office working, and like every time you just have a question, boom, you just ask him. And then he answers, and then you just keep working, boom. And it's kind of like Dave Meltzer boot camp, because what happens is,
I would love that,
is when you ask him enough questions, you start to ask a question, and then you go, wait, I already know the answer because I've just talked to Dave for so long. That is when you will go through that is when you will be fully evolved into the Dave
but listen,
Dave Meltzer ecosystem.
But here's the problem. if you stay there too long, the frequencies get all wacky and you get totally wacky. Next thing you know, you're writing 40,000 word observers on your wall every single week, just repeatedly writing the same exact thing all over your walls. It becomes a problem. So you got to be careful with that.
The other thing as well is
Yeah.
you're watching Monday Night Raw, goes to commercial, and you immediately hit the dumbbells. And then the dumbbells, they start talking to you. That's when you know you've been around him a little bit.
That's when you know when you're working out and the dumbbells start talking to you. That is my favorite. There are a couple Dave Meltzer stories that I absolutely love. That's one of them. Another one I can't talk about on the show. I'll tell you off the air. But the fight with Ole Anderson is one of my favorites.
Yes.
Great radio. Great radio. Listen, I think Dave's question to him was, listen, I'll be frank, I've heard it.
Yeah.
I've heard it.
Yeah.
I've never publicly said it. I'm glad Dave asked. Again, these are things that happen. These are conversations that happen and people ask questions. The AEW overall like idea of what people at WBD think of AEW is extremely positive, right? Like, great.
It's great.
Like all that internet chatter about the rating was down. I have never, ever once heard a complaint about AEW from anybody within the Warner organization. Listen, I'm not going to go outright and tell you who I talk to, right?
No.
That would be a terrible idea, but Garrett knows very well. Dave knows. Brian knows. Sean Ross Sapp, I talk to him regularly about this. You know, you kind of compare and contrast notes, and you sometimes you offer up a little bit of stuff, but I'm not an irresponsible guy, you know, when it comes to this stuff. And sometimes I don't feel confident putting it out there. I'm glad Dave asked the question. I do think there's tremendous synergy between the two brands. I think there's tremendous confidence in what AEW could do for Warner. You know, these are all questions asked, whether or not they're a minority owner of sorts or they have some sort of investment in the company. I think that could be a possibility. That could be a possibility currently. That could be a possibility in the future. I don't think it's a negative whatsoever. But I thought it was a very interesting question for Dave to ask, and the response was even better. I think Tony knocked it out of the park by giving an answer to essentially not giving an answer. But I'm not saying that in a critical way whatsoever. No. I don't want it to come off like that. Okay.
I think very happy.
If I was him, I would have said the same thing.
I'm very happy he didn't say, "I'm sorry, I can't talk about that right now." He gave an answer.
I would have liked that better.
Hallelujah for me. Okay, so there's some other things that they talked about on this call.
The pay-per-views.
He said he never said AEW will move to one pay-per-view a month. He isn't sure what the right number is, while also saying that there is more appetite out there for their content. And this kind of involves you as well, because last week, I believe, is when you said that you think that they're going to go to a monthly pay-per-view scenario.
Yes. I will adjust a little bit, okay?
Okay.
I will adjust a little bit. I do think we will probably get close to 12 pay-per-views a year from them.
Okay.
Now, does that include 4 from Ring of Honor?
God, I hope not. And not to dismiss ROH fans in any way, but the money is in the AEW shows, not in the ROH shows.
Sure. However, I will tell you, when I mentioned, on Matman, right? I mentioned that AEW has run monthly pay-per-views since May, but except for July. Okay.
Yeah.
I said July they did not have a pay-per-view.
They ran 2 in 2 weeks to sort of make up for it.
But no, I was told we did run a pay-per-view.
Oh, ROH?
And I said, ROH. And I said, oh, that's interesting. And ROH is in their mindset of how many pay-per-views they run a year. I'm like, okay, so if that's the case, so let's do this year, right? How many ROH pay-per-views have you had in 2022?
2022 or 2023?
Yeah. 2023, I'm sorry.
I think they're scheduled for one in December. So would that make 4? Would that be 4 this year for them?
Okay, so that would be 4. So they ran, when was the first one? I don't know the Ring of Honor
I
pay-per-view.
don't remember. I
cycle.
remember I think they always run around WrestleMania timeframe, don't they?
Yeah, so hold on. Let's see. Death Before Dishonor is one, right? Death Before Dishonor was in July. Super Card of Honor is in March.
Oh, they're only only 3.
There's only
this year,
3.
then. Yeah.
Okay, so 3.
Last year they did 4. Last year they did 3
so
as well. So I'm off on thinking that there was
Okay, so
4.
let's do the math. 3 of them, right? 3 Ring of Honors.
Mhm.
We had Revolution, Double or Nothing, Forbidden Door,
Mhm.
All In, All Out,
Mhm.
Full Gear,
Mhm.
Wrestle Dream, whatever this December pay-per-view is going to be, plus 3. There you go. That's 11.
That's 12.
So
Is
they've
that 11
run,
or 12?
That's 12.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. What I have? 9, 10, 11, 12. 12. There you go. Guys, they're running 12 pay-per-views this year.
Mhm.
Or maybe 11. Maybe there isn't a Ring of Honor pay-per-view. Maybe it's like a super show or whatever they do in December. It's not announced yet. They haven't announced anything. But this is interesting. And guess what they've gotten from you? They've gotten $50 a freaking show from you. Give or take.
Yep. If you're ordering the ROH shows.
Which, guess what? I am. You are, right? Dave is. There are certain people that are. I don't know what those ROH numbers are like. I'm sure they're doing okay. They're making money at $50 a pop or $40 a pop.
Mhm.
But this is interesting. Okay, fine. You're maybe not committing to 12, but you are doing 12. And as far as I know, when AEW people within AEW look at this pay-per-view schedule, they consider the Ring of Honor pay-per-views part of it. Now, I don't know. When I was told this, I wasn't told it by somebody that's a wrestler or in AEW. I was told by someone that's a layman and doesn't really know professional wrestling. So when they're telling me they're going to be running 12 pay-per-views in 2024, it could be Ring of Honor also, but 8, 9, whatever they run for AEW, I think that's fantastic.
Tony's comment, though, specifically, he said there's more of an appetite for AEW content. He didn't say ROH. So unless he meant ROH as a part of AEW, I do wonder if we are long for this ROH brand. But then on this call, he went over, he put over ROH as if, ROH is doing really great. So we'll have to see where that goes. But do you have any other information on this upcoming December AEW show?
I have some information. I have a date that I don't want to put out the date, okay? Because I'm not 100% convinced, and I don't want there to be like, Andrew Zarin reported this. The date I have is a very odd date.
Yeah.
I know, aggregation, but sometimes it's, what's funny? I have a very specific way that I speak, and it's a little fragmented, and sometimes when you read it, it makes no sense. You know what I mean? And I'm like, I gotta kind of backtrack a little bit because, like, I'm having a conversation. I'm not that's always my thing.
Yeah,
it sometimes doesn't translate well. I will say the date that I have is a very odd date to run the show.
Yes.
Also, the possible location, I'm a little shocked about. But again, I'll most likely be able to talk about this in another week or so. But
okay.
I tried my very best to get some information. They are running a show in December, and it seems a little late.
Mm-hmm.
So you could, I mean, there's only 2 dates that you could really run because one is Christmas weekend, right? The other one is New Year's weekend. And the
Mm-hmm.
other one is Hanukkah, beginning of Hanukkah. So I'm very curious. And you could, I sorry, I can't do it. I don't want to. It's a very odd date.
Yeah.
There you go.
Well, I mean, historically, if you go back through the pay-per-view calendar of yesteryear, they were running pay-per-views on weird dates all the time. Like so I'm all for, if that's what this is, if this is sort of a test to see if, why are we always, locked in on these specific Saturdays or these specific Sundays every year? Be creative, try a different
Yeah,
day,
listen, I'm not
try,
knocking them,
yeah. Um,
but it's very interesting to run it in the market that they possibly might. I don't know. Um, when too many people kind of hear things, it gets very muddied based
mhm.
on the way it's being said to you. You know what I mean? So I I was very confident about this, and then my confidence kind of dropped a little bit today.
Okay. Hey,
But I'm not
you know,
saying it's not happening. I most likely it is happening on the date that I'm hearing. I just
you
don't
want
feel
you want to
comfortable putting
report
it out there.
in confidence, right?
Yeah.
That's the
Listen,
way to do it.
bodyslam.net put out a story about this.
Yep.
Cassidy put out something about this. So it's very interesting to me.
Yep.
Um, I'll have more information about it, but you're limited. December is a weird month.
Yep.
The 8th is the
Okay.
beginning of Hanukkah. That's a Friday. You got Christmas on the 24th, Christmas Eve on the 24th, the 25th. You got New Year's the weekend after. What are you running? When are you running? Weird day.
Yeah. All right, a couple of other tidbits that he mentioned that are sort of related to the things that we like to talk about. He talked about a streaming service that would likely be packaged into their next TV rights deal, and they don't want to do a 6 to 9 month tryout before those come up. So I mentioned when we expect their TV deal to be up, which is sometime at the end of next year. So I think what he's saying is if we were to work with WBD on the streaming situation, and if we ended up not staying with them, it would be just this short time frame in which we have our stuff with them. So what that tells me is it is a leverage for them to get their next TV deal done if it's with WBD, and then you kind of, roll in the streaming there. So that was also, he also worded that very specifically, and I think you can come to a few different conclusions based on where your mind is on that.
Yeah. Um, what are you thinking?
Well, I only circle back to this BR Sports tier idea, right? That Warner Brothers is all in on. They got NBA, they got baseball playoffs, they got March Madness that's going to be involved in this. They are going to have to get people to pay by March. And the thing about what WWE does with their PLEs is that these companies, right? Their biggest problem, or one of their biggest problems with streaming, is churn. It is so easy to cancel your Disney Plus subscription unless it is in a bundle, because then you also have to cancel all the other things
Sure.
that you have locked in. But for the HBO Max, I'm sure they deal with churn. Just, winning time is over. I've finished all of winning time. There's nothing new that I want to watch. So I'm going to disconnect until the next series comes on that I want to watch. If you have monthly pro wrestling, that is going to help with your churn for that number of fans. So let's say there are 200,000 AEW fans who will want to stay locked in on this deal. Those 200,000 are probably going to have very low churn rates as long as they get those
Yeah.
monthly pay-per-views. So that's where it makes sense to me for BR Sports to want AEW shows on their network, because it just helps the churn. I think the worry, at least for me, if I was them, is how many of these people are really out there who are not going to just, you know, oh, I don't like this pay-per-view. This doesn't have a good main event. I'll opt out and I'll come back next month. Like that I don't know if there's that many people out there, but
Yeah.
the low, like for instance, I think for Peacock, right? They keep saying, "Oh, we have 1,000 or I mean 1,000,000 people watching these WWE shows." Does that grow for AEW from their pay-per-view buying numbers, which is, close to 200,000 for All In, 100,000 for All Out, back-to-back shows? Is that the number, or is the number bigger because it's cheaper? That
Yeah.
I think that's what we don't know yet. But the smaller that number is, I think the less willing, for it to be impactful on a new service it will be. So that's kind of my wonder about that. I just don't know what those numbers are. But when you have something like WWE for Peacock, they're like, oh, like there's 400,000 people who are just gonna stay locked in. I've never unsubscribed from Peacock for that reason. So, and really, it's the main reason why I'm subscribed. So the lack of churn for a monthly service in which you are getting the thing that you want to pay for, that's what these streaming services are
Yeah.
looking for.
To me, it doesn't make sense to have the BR app. Here's a good question for you. Okay. I got a question for you. I want to watch the AEW pay-per-view, right? What website do I go online? I go to bleacherreport.com, right? If I want to watch something I ordered on my computer.
What was it previously? What was the old app that they had? BR Live?
BR Live. Yeah.
The last time I think earlier this year I had to order an AEW show. And I went to the BR Live thing on my Apple TV because that's what I had. And they're like, "Oh, this doesn't work anymore. You have to go here." But it's not like it's not like they gave me an easy way to do it. I had to go find the app, go download the app. So yeah, the confusion is already there for these AEW shows in the marketplace. So,
but it's absolutely terrible because I'm like, listen, we're in the know here, right? I'm trying to log in and find where I could go back and watch the archives, okay, on my computer.
Yep.
I'm at bleacherreport.com. Where do I go? I logged in. I swear to God, I'm not. I wish I wasn't joking. I wish this was simple.
Yeah.
I logged in, right? I'm on my computer. I'm like, you know what? I'd love to watch All Out again from last year. Okay, where do I go? I'm at bleacherreport.com. I logged in. I went to live.bleacherreport.com to log in. Live.bleacherreport.com. I can't find it.
Yeah, it's not a great experience, to say the least.
No, and that's terrible. So you're not capitalizing on this for whatever reason, but I can't see them maintaining that app just for AEW. They have to end up on Bleacher Report on Max. There's no other option.
And his answer may be related to the question about ownership, because if he said, "Yeah, we're locked in on streaming," then people may take that to believe the answer to his other question, or to Dave's question, may not have been true. So, this is all he's got to be really smart about what he says, and that's probably why we see a lot of no comments, and I can't really talk about that.
Listen,
but
he's right. He's right. He never said they're going 12 pay-per-views. He's never announced that. He's never said it. Why? Don't go based on Adrian. Like, he's absolutely right. He hasn't said a word.
Yes.
Or go based on Adrian. Don't go based on Tony Khan. What does that guy know? What does that guy know about his own company?
Or go based on whatever the Facebook page was that said that Tony Khan's going to own New Japan. That's the end
New
of the
Japan. You know what? He gave a great answer to that, too.
So I did actually have a conversation with Dave about this. I was like, "Hey, where did that thing come from?" He's like, "I don't know, but New Japan wouldn't sell to an American company. Like, that's
zero
chance. The way that they do business." So,
listen, Noah didn't sell to WWE.
Yeah,
a lot of people don't remember that. WWE was very interested in Noah. Somebody told me, and I had no way of confirming this, but somebody told me that Steve Corino was brought in as like a liaison a little bit to this. I have no idea how, this was someone within WWE. Like, I have no idea the factuality of that because it was so many years ago. Yeah. But Noah used them as leverage to negotiate, to kind of tease this whole thing. I cannot see New Japan Pro Wrestling, that's an institution in that country, selling to an American.
Yeah. Tony, and like, think about it this way. Tony already does business in the UK. He's still involved with the Jaguars. Wrestling is all over the United States. He would have to like his time zone coverage by also owning a Japanese company would be ridiculous. He'd have to start going back to using fax machines like Dave. The whole reason Dave bought
Tony
a
lives
fax
in his
machine.
own time zone at that point.
Yeah. Dave bought a fax machine just so that Japan could communicate with him.
Did he really?
Yeah,
That's
that
great.
was the reason for having the fax machine, I think. All right, let's talk about SmackDown real quick because that was a story that came out after we recorded last week. SmackDown is leaving Fox and it is going to NBC Universal, and it sounds like NBC Universal is going to lose Raw based off of all the things that I'm reading, but they did not get the 1.5x that Nick Khan had been talking about. And I'd actually listened to a podcast with the, I think he's the Endeavor the TKO CEO, Mark Shapiro. He was on a podcast I was listening to, and he pulled back from 1.5 and he said 1.4 to 1.5x.
Yeah.
But this is just the SmackDown. They still have Raw and whatever they're going to sell NXT for. And so they could very well get to that 1.5x number. But what did you think of SmackDown going back to USA here?
Fox lost. It was a loss leader. I'm not going to say they lost money on this, but it was looked at as a loss leader. You do this, and we spoke about this last week, right? Like, you could do this with the NFL, and then you could put on whatever stupid sitcom you have to go on after the NFL, after whatever game you have, and it'll pop their numbers.
The Masked
So it's
Singer.
worth it for you. Yeah. The Masked Singer, whatever, they've done this forever, and the networks know that. So they'll invest. They have no problem paying way too much for NFL packages. And they kind of make up the money with the ad revenue that they're selling. They bundle ads with the other shows. With Fox, unfortunately, they didn't have that opportunity because majority of the Fox affiliates went into news at 10 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't capitalize on the fact that you have WWE to kind of work off of. You have about 3 million or so people, whatever that number is, to work off of. On cable, it's a little bit different, right? You could program something else after that. You could have an overrun and do something unique with it. You could give it another hour, which I don't want to see.
You don't have to censor chants that start
like a-hole, yeah.
A-hole, yeah.
And you know what? And that is why they wanted to go TV 14. That is the exact reason I was told from somebody very high up in WWE, because they laughed about it. I got to say, this is one of the funniest stories. I went out to dinner with a couple people from there, and they just sat there and they laughed about it, giggling at me. And I was like, "What's so funny?" He goes, "You know what's really funny? We denied that this was happening, but it was 100% happening. USA just jumped the gun." So, they know them, and they said the reason why is not because they want to do blood and they want to curse regularly on TV. They don't want to censor it, and they want the flexibility to use certain moments to heighten a story. Like that Matt Riddle promo with the face-to-face with Seth Rollins when they did that split screen.
Mm-hmm.
That was a perfect example of how TV 14 would have worked for them because they wouldn't have censored certain things. Maybe they would have done it. Maybe they would have said a different word that got on TV, and they would have resonated with people. Mm-hmm. I think the story of Raw and NXT is fascinating to me. More Raw than NXT. Where do you put it? Do you leave Peacock? Do you leave the NBCU? Because I think that's a mistake. I think linear is still key for them. I don't think streaming is going to be the answer.
Okay, so I read a newsletter by Lucas Shaw from Bloomberg. He writes it every Sunday. And I'll read the quote here. He wrote that WWE sells 3 packages at the moment: Raw, SmackDown, and streaming. Raw is seen as the strongest of the bunch, and Comcast has decided to drop Raw for SmackDown. Fox, which had SmackDown, appears to be stepping away from WWE. TKO is controlled by the big talent agency Endeavor Group, whose shares also retreated, but Endeavor isn't worried. Management believes there are plenty of buyers for Raw, including Disney, Amazon, Warner Brothers Discovery, and maybe even Comcast or Paramount. So he did add
Yeah.
Comcast back in at the end there. But
Warner Brothers is not getting Raw and SmackDown, Raw and NXT.
okay, but
I
why is this company always in this discussion? No,
I don't know.
none of these national writers have said, "Oh, they already have a group, and a group that is aligned with Warner Brothers already," because I can't imagine WWE would want to go to Warner's if AEW was also still there. That sounds ridiculous.
Yeah, listen. I don't know. I don't know the answer why they keep bringing up Warner Media. I could take it as these are not very connected to wrestling people, and if that's the fact, and you ask one person at Warner Media what they think, they're gonna be like, "Well, of course our doors are. We're always open to conversation." I think
Right.
you have to be a real corporate dummy to ever turn around and be like, "Oh no, we're locked in already. We have no interest.
We don't want WWE.
The
What are
number
you
one."
talking about?
The number one wrestling promotion of all time. We have no interest. No, listen, sometimes things are realistic, sometimes they're not. I don't think this is realistic for Warner to want to be embedded with WWE. I don't think I think it's just people just listing things to list them. I could be wrong. Listen, I just can't see it.
Yeah,
And
it
I
doesn't
don't
make
think
sense.
that's yeah, I don't think they're going to Paramount. I don't think they're going to WBD. The ESPN stuff is very interesting to me, but where do you put it?
The ESPN has said we don't have room for it to be a regular
No,
show,
it would be a
but they
preempted
do
show.
have ESPN Plus, and so if the streaming PLEs when that information is up, then maybe like we actually had a tweet about that. Do you want to read that tweet that we got today
Yeah, let me find this. Hang on. My
from
Twitter
I
is
think it was
is
Royal Pain.
yeah, let me find this. Dave's flexing his biceps for me now. Wow, look at his arms. ESPN's UFC deal expires in 2025. WWE Peacock expires in 2026. With all the talk of TKO possibly bundling streaming rights and NBCU getting Smackdown, any chance Universal could go all in on TKO, Raw, PLEs, UFC, everything with even a theme park component, or is that too much? No, I don't think that's too much. I think, listen, Mickey Mouse could do it.
Mickey
And
Mouse is going to have to start lifting weights though if they want
But
UFC
this
and
was
WWE.
this was also a company that a year ago they were talking about possibly spinning off their ESPN right, their ESPN aspect of their product.
Still could
So
happen too.
it still could happen. So I don't know. I don't know. I'm not as well in tune on the Disney side of things. Um, I ESPN makes sense, but you're going to be preempted. You're going to put them on ABC. I don't see that happening. Um, I don't know. I'm very intrigued by this.
SmackDown made a lot more sense if you wanted to go back to broadcast because it is only 2 hours. Raw at 3 hours, is somebody going to give up their entire primetime block for pro wrestling? Maybe the third hour of Raw moves to cable and you get 2 hours in broadcast primetime, but I don't see that. So what I liked about Royal Pain's question is like very, very thoughtful the way that they put that together because they're thinking about, both companies now together, the synergy with that. I actually look at it the other way. Now, I'm not saying that this is even a pipe dream. This is just like my when I saw that question, this is where my creative juices went flowing. Okay. ESPN, Bob Iger has said they know the date when they're going to take ESPN over the top. That doesn't mean that they're going to pull ESPN off of the cable bundle. Does not mean that in any way. It's just going to be you sign up for cable. If you don't sign up for cable, we have ESPN in this different package. You can subscribe to our channel for whatever the monetary value is.
Yeah.
Now, UFC is currently the only way you can buy UFC pay-per-views is if you have a subscription to ESPN Plus. You have to have that subscription first. I don't know what that number. It used to be $5, then it was like $7. It may be even more now because I keep seeing that the increase is coming. So whatever that number is, that is the that is the minimum amount you have to pay in order to buy a pay-per-view. So it's like you're paying just to buy these pay-per-views. Now, if ESPN said, all right, we have this new product, we're getting rid of ESPN Plus. The over-the-top product is going to be all of the live ESPN broadcast channels, News Plus, 2, all the college stuff that they have. But the caveat is, if you want to subscribe to the WWE Network on ESPN, you have to go over the top. If you want to buy ESPN pay-per-views, you have to go over the top. So I could see it moving the other way. I could see it moving to ESPN, both libraries and the ability to do pay-per-view. But if I was WWE, I wouldn't go back to pay-per-view because I think that they've kind of ruined it. But if ESPN over the top product is now a little bit more interesting, especially if you're double dipping and you also have cable, because then they get paid both ways. You're like, I already have ESPN on the cable bundle, but now should I just subscribe to ESPN over the top for $25 a month so that I can order my UFC pay-per-views and so I can get my WWE Network? That is what is interesting to me. I almost think it's too much because I think the ESPN over the top product is going to be a little bit too expensive, but I could see it working in that way. And if you're WWE, you want to work in a model that you already know that works for USA, right? For Paramount, I'm sorry, not Paramount, but for Peacock to actually now have to buy a pay-per-view component to Peacock, that's a little bit different, and they would have to figure that piece out of it.
Yeah. The Raw and less NXT, because NXT can become anything, right? But here's the other thing: NXT's doing fantastic. But it's not whatever anymore with the ratings that they're getting. Their viewership for that show has surpassed what people at USA ever expected from it. When they went to this new NXT after the Gold and Black split, they really 625 was the number. They would be happy in the 6.6s. They're doing 900,000 now. It's fantastic. So
can they do that?
Definitely.
If they take Judgment Day and Becky off, though, will they stay there?
No, but I don't think that's. I think this is part of their long-term plan now, where you'll always have something happening down there. A little something, and you'll cross it over.
Or is it they sign the TV deal, and then they pull those folks back,
and then they pull it back as possible. Yeah,
right.
By the way, WWE right now is going all in on Jade.
That was
first
the next
day
topic.
At the Performance Center. Yep, go ahead.
I saw the video. They showed her walking to the Performance Center. She's in workout clothes and slides. And my first thought was, what a star. She didn't have to be dolled up. She's just in slides walking into the Performance Center. And I really hope that she improves the wrestling piece of it. I think she will, because she'll just be able to work more matches, because that is really the thing that's missing, right? Is this in-ring. And it's not like she's bad. I don't think she's bad, but the connection to the presentation and the presence and the character, and then to the in-ring and being seamless and connected to the audience and that piece. If she just improves by 30%, man, we may be seeing an all-timer here. I just think she's got everything. And I've said that since the first day I laid eyes on her in AEW. I was like, okay, who's that? And I just want to see more of her on my television.
So WWE posted her training.
Uh-oh.
I have never seen them invest so much into somebody coming into that company. This is why.
Good.
Listen, man. Jade, over a year ago, we spoke about this, on how she was on that list. And there's other people on that list, too, that WWE would like. I don't think you
Yes.
guys, there's quite a few names that WWE would love to get. I think for Jade, it was an easy pick for her. She was trained at the Monster Factory,
Mhm.
right? She is part of WME, so Endeavor represents her. I'm sure there's more than just wrestling tied into this. I'm sure
Mhm.
there's promises or attempts that are going to be taken where she's a crossover star. She has that look. They want to put her in a main position immediately. Cody, I'm sure, is going to back her with this.
Yep.
This is, I mean, this is a very simple move for her. I
Mhm.
think it's definitely, did AEW utilize her? Well, yeah, I think they did, but now she's going to be even a bigger star. So if she does go back to AEW, that's real estate that you have and a history that you have. But I think she's going to have a phenomenal career there. I would be shocked if she didn't. What's that
I
Mania
agree.
match,
I
Garrett?
agree with you. I agree with
Her and
you.
Charlotte?
That's who she called out Charlotte and Rhea in her tweet this morning, I think. Or actually, you know what? I saw 2 different tweets, and I think that somebody had retweeted something meant to be her. Maybe it wasn't. I don't know. I actually, but yeah, Charlotte is immediate. Um, Bianca, tremendous. Asuka, like everybody, all of the women who are top level. Those are
Yeah.
kind of easy matches to have.
Yeah.
All right, are you
It's
ready for
fantastic.
another? Are you ready for another pay per view this weekend? Actually, if you are an NXT PLE fan, 2
You got, yeah, two
shows,
pay-per-views.
Saturday and
Yeah.
Sunday. Are you ready? Are you mentally
Ooh.
prepared for this weekend?
Can I say something?
Yeah.
There's a December PLE for NXT.
Oh wow.
Yeah. There's a
What is
December
when is that?
PLE. December 9th
Hmm.
in Connecticut.
So what does that say anything about
I
opposition
don't know.
or?
I have
Yeah.
no idea. And by the way,
So
hold on, talking about opposition. Isn't AEW swapping days in October?
yeah, they have to go on Tuesday or something, right?
I think the 10th they're going head to head with NXT.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm curious if they
The
do
Tuesday
anything
Night
interesting.
Wars.
That's also Tony's birthday.
Tony Khan or Tony
Mm-hmm.
Leader? Oh,
Tony
okay.
Khan. I wonder if they do something fun.
More dancing? I'm in if it's more dancing.
Look at me bringing out the hipster of 2011, drinking out of a mason jar.
Let's talk a little bit about Wrestle Dream before we get out of here. The NXT
Yeah.
show is, I think for NXT fans, it should be pretty fun. It's actually not too far from me, but I am, I'm going to try and go to Raw, but see, I'm a little too, I'm a little too snobby here for my Monday Night Raw experience now because last year, my buddy Ben Cruz, who works for the Ringer, he does Wednesday Worldwide on the Ringer Wrestling Podcast Network. He had the Ringer hookup, and so we were like in the second row, and I was like, "Oh man, I can't watch a wrestling show in any other way ever again." So we're gonna see if he can get the same connection this year, and if so, I'll have a pretty fun little recap if we do a show next week. But at the same time, I'm like, okay, but what if I can't get those same seats? Do I want to go? Do I want to go sit in the crowd and in the hubbub of like, a good seat still, but then I don't have the same experience of going with buddies and stuff. So I'm probably I'm gonna go. I think if we can get those tickets again, but if not, I think I'm gonna just stay home and watch it, even though it's right in my backyard, San Jose, California. They're hopefully they'll put about 10,000 people in that building, and 49er players will be there like last year. Warriors players will be there like last year. So I'm a little conflicted, but basically, Bakersfield, they're running this weekend for NXT. That's like a 4-hour drive. And then I think they're in San Francisco doing a house show this weekend as well. The Friday, I think, is in Sacramento. So lots of NorCal wrestling going on this week with WWE. But for Wrestle Dream, let's talk about this card. What is the match that you are looking the most forward to?
Danielson for sure. The 3-on-3 with Ospreay and Kenny. I'm sorry, not Ospreay and Kenny. The 3-on-3 with Ospreay and Kenny.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, the card looks great. Let's open it up. Let's see. Let's Wrestle Dream. Let me see what we got here. I'm drawing a blank here with everything else. Danielson, Zack Sabre Jr. Fine. Great. 100%. Hangman versus Swerve. I'm into this feud. FTR Aussie Open will be a fantastic match. The Adam Cole and Righteous stuff, I'm curious what they do storyline-wise.
Is Adam Cole even going to be able to wrestle? That's what I wonder. You see him
find out on
Dynamite,
we'll find
right?
out.
I had
Chris
this
Jericho
idea.
and the Golden Lovers. Is he a Golden Lover, Chris Jericho? I guess he could be.
I mean, he's maybe more of an orange lover, just based on his tan.
An orange lover. Yeah.
I had this idea on the whole Adam Cole thing. Like, what if? Now, I don't think so. This is just fun for me to think about. But what if he didn't really hurt his knee and he was just faking it?
Oh, he could have done that.
Right? What if he's faking
Everything's a work?
And then he comes out for that match on Sunday, and he's still on crutches. And you get Roddy with the neck brace running out, screaming at him, "Let me take your place. Let me take your place." And that's where the turn happens on MJF. And then Adam Cole, in his most Kaiser Soze, just throws the crutches down and just starts walking up the ramp normally.
So good.
I mean, I don't think that's going to happen, by the way, though.
Or this could be a ploy to pull him out of the match, and then this was all a conniving ploy of Adam Cole and his friends.
Yes,
right. That's also a possibility. That's hanging. I
mean, if it doesn't if it doesn't go that way, Adam Cole is a dork. If it doesn't go that way,
I keep talking about this, and I get so much crap every time I say it publicly, but I don't love this. But that's only me. I said this. I was on with Nick Hausman before, and I was talking to him, and I was like, listen,
does that show up
I
already?
just don't love this. It should be. Yeah, I think it is up. I think it's up to about an hour ago.
House of, what is the website?
House of Wrestling?
House of Wrestling. So you can listen to Andrew Zarian and Nick Hausman.
We were talking about this, and I'm like, it didn't do it for me. The silliness didn't do. I mean, there have been moments that have been fantastic, right? Where I've taken it back. I'm like, this kind of work. I had such a hard time believing the best friend story. You're not best friends. You never were. You never told us you were. I like my friendship in reality, where I have no best friends and I just have acquaintances. Maybe it's me. Maybe I'm the problem.
Rich. What about Rich?
Rich doesn't count. Rich is is embedded to me.
What about
nobody's my best friend? I have no best. You know what that is? The best friends. My tag team is the no best friends. Everything is a friendship of convenience. That's. Oh no! See, our producer now yelling at me. I have best friends. I have good friends. I have close friends. I don't know. I just didn't love it. But if I'm gonna break down like my top couple matches here, it would be Danielson, Zack Sabre Jr., Hangman Swerve, FTR Aussie Open, and the Jericho Golden Lovers against Sammy, Ospreay, and Takeshita. Everything else is fine too. Statlander, Julia Hart, fine. Eddie Kingston, Shibata could be fantastic. Could be amazing.
I still get nervous every time I watch Shibata wrestle.
Yeah.
I mean, $50 is Danielson and Zack Sabre Jr. I would pay for a one-match pay-per-view $50 for that match. So I'm already
go 2 hours.
I'm 100%.
And I want them to go 2 hours. Garrett.
What about if they're like on a subway?
I'll take a subway match. I'll take like the Undertaker Triple H Penn Station brawl. I'll take that.
Or the who had the match just recently? Minoru Suzuki. Didn't he like wrestle on a train, a bullet train or something?
On the train. Yeah. Listen, man, I see every once a week at least. I have the honor of living in New York City. I don't know if you guys know this about me. And I feel so bad for all of you. I get to see the Undertaker and Triple H fighting, but generally it's two crackheads in Penn Station.
Yeah.
And this is right. I wish I was exaggerating, It's just drugged up lunatics just tussling each other on those elevator stairs coming down. I'm like, oh, look, it's The Undertaker and Triple H. This happens every week.
I have seen many sort of drunken fight on BART in the Bay Area. But did you see this video went a little viral, and it was on the subway, and this guy had fallen asleep on this other guy's shoulder.
Yes.
And the way this guy woke him up was to throw like this nasty elbow that knocked this guy out. And then that guy got in a fight with another guy. Do you remember seeing this video?
Yeah. It was a couple weeks ago.
So one of my buddies reached out in our Fight Game Media Discord, and he was like, I'm embarrassed to say that is my former brother-in-law.
No, stop it.
And then he sent us a picture of like Christmas
my
from like 15
God.
years ago when they're hanging out.
Oh, that poor man.
Shout out to the Dames. People on the F4W message board know the Dames and the convention.
Yeah.
The Dames is at the convention.
Oh man, I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. That's rough. I have to tell you, talking about San Francisco, I've been there a bunch. I loved it, right? I loved San Francisco. It's a shame what's happening there. But the last time I was there, I stay at the Ritz-Carlton over there, okay? It's a financial district, not because I'm hoity-toity, because I like the financial district and it's safe over there. I didn't know that downtown San Francisco is a shit show. I didn't know this.
Lots of problems going on right now.
I went up to Sonoma, and this was maybe 8 years ago. We were driving up to Sonoma. We were going to wine country. Okay, it was Spencer from the Bald Truth, myself, my wife, and his at the time. And we went up. We had a great trip, and I had a 1 day like in between coming back home. So I was like, you know what? I'll just book a Hilton.
Yeah, bad idea.
Or a Hyatt. I forgot what it was. Oh, dude, it was scary. I live in New York. I have no fear. This was scary. I swear to you. If I'm exaggerating, may I get struck down by lightning. There were two people, a man and a woman, fighting over a bag of Cheetos. Okay, and the woman started stabbing the man.
Oh my God.
Okay?
Over the
like,
Cheetos.
Dude, I'm at a red light. This is happening right next to me. And I'm like, where the hell are we? And the navigation says, make a right. You're at the hotel. And it was right next to the hotel. And I'm like, I got to get out of here. I got to get out of this place. I just kept driving. I never booked myself. I went back to the Ritz-Carlton.
My office is not that far away from a sketchy area. It's not, and it could be scary for a lot of my colleagues because, if you use public transportation, you kind of got to walk through, some areas of drug use and homelessness. And, homelessness in of itself is not scary. It's just,
too. And it's a shame. It's absolutely terrible.
Sympathy for them.
Yeah.
But then, there's other stuff going on. So yeah, it's a problem.
I have
San Francisco
for all of them. It's mental illness. It's drug addiction. Yeah. It's terrible. It's terrible. I mean, I'm making a little bit of a joke here because you kind of have to when you experience something like that because it was insane. But I don't know how we got to this topic, to be honest. I have no idea how we got to my San Francisco experience from 2015.
That was your Wrestle Dream, man. People fighting over.
That
Cheetos.
was my Wrestle Dream. That was my Wrestle Dream. Are you ordering? Are you going to Dave's for this?
No, actually, my twin stepsons, it's their birthday, so we're having dinner. I probably won't even get to watch it until super late. So, but I actually have Monday off just in case I'm going to Raw, so I can always watch it late or wake up in the morning and watch it as well.
Yeah. Excellent.
All right. That is it from here. We got through every topic as advertised on Twitter. I posted the tweet and I was like, oh my gosh, what if we don't get to the end of this? But we did. And yeah, Wrestle Dream, NXT this weekend should be a fun weekend. And so for Andrew Zarian, I am Double G. We will see you when we see you. Peace out.